Update. My sister is facing 15 to 20 years in federal prison because I wouldn't let her use my house for a party. Hi everyone. Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Original post, posted to r/relationship_advice. I, 26M, never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I need perspective because my world has completely imploded in the past 48 hours. My younger sister Emily, 20F, has always been the golden child in our family. When our parents died in a car accident 4 years ago, I became her legal guardian for the last 2 years until she turned 18. I used my portion of the inheritance to buy a modest 3-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood, while Emily blew through most of hers on designer clothes, trips, and what she called networking expenses. 6 months ago, Emily got engaged to her boyfriend Tyler, 23M, who comes from money. She immediately started planning this elaborate engagement party that would cost more than most people's weddings. When she came to me 2 weeks ago asking to use my house as the venue, I thought she was joking. "James, your place is perfect. It has that vintage charm, the backyard is gorgeous, and we could fit at least 80 people," she said, already mentally decorating my living room. "Emily, I'm not having 80 strangers in my house." "That's insane," I told her. "They're not strangers, they're my friends. And Tyler's family. This is important for my future, James. Don't you want me to be happy?" The conversation devolved from there. She called me selfish, reminded me that family helps family, and even tried to guilt me about our parents. When I held firm, she stormed out, but not before saying something that should have been a warning. "Fine. I'll figure it out myself. I always do." My best friend Brandon, 27M, has been in my life since middle school. We've been through everything together. My parents' death, his divorce last year, career changes, you name it. He has a key to my house because he often crashes there when working late. He's a software developer and my place is closer to his office than his apartment. 3 days after the fight with Emily, I noticed Brandon acting strange. He was texting constantly when we hung out, leaving rooms to take calls, and seemed jumpy whenever I mentioned Emily. I figured maybe he was seeing someone new and wasn't ready to talk about it. Then yesterday happened. I came home early from work with a migraine and found Brandon's car in my driveway. Weird, but not unusual. He sometimes works from my house when his internet acts up. But when I walked in, I found him in my home office, photographing documents from my filing cabinet with his phone. My social security card, bank statements, property deed, everything was spread across my desk. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted. He jerked up, phone clattering to the floor. His face went white, then red. "James, this isn't." That's when Emily walked in from my bedroom, holding my spare credit cards from the drawer where I keep them. She was wearing this triumphant smile that made my stomach drop. "Oh good, you're home early," she said, like she wasn't committing a crime. Saves me the trouble of making up an excuse for Brandon later. The story came out in pieces. Emily had matched with Brandon on a dating app 3 weeks ago, using fake photos and a different name. She'd been flirting with him, sending him pictures, real ones apparently, and promising to meet up. When she finally revealed who she was, she convinced him that I'd stolen her inheritance, that I was controlling and abusive, and that she just needed some documents to prove to a lawyer that the house should partially be hers. Brandon, thinking with the wrong head and believing her sob story, agreed to help. He was supposed to get copies of my documents and credit cards so she could build her case. In return, she was going to date him. "You're sick," I told Emily. "Both of you. Get out of my house." Brandon tried to apologize, stammering about how Emily had told him things, how she seemed so vulnerable, how he thought he was helping. I took my keys back from him and told him if he ever came near my property again, I'd call the police. Emily just laughed. "You won't call the cops on family, James. You're too worried about what people would think. Besides, I didn't actually do anything yet. I was just borrowing some information." They left, but not before Emily said, "This isn't over. I'm getting what I deserve one way or another." I changed all my locks that night, but the damage was done. Brandon had already sent her photos of my documents before I caught them. I've frozen my credit, changed all my passwords, and notified my banks, but I feel completely violated. My sister weaponized my best friend's loneliness against me, and he betrayed 15 years of friendship for a girl he thought he had a chance with. The worst part? Our extended family is already taking her side. My aunt called me this morning saying I should just let Emily have her party, that she's young and in love, and I'm being a controlling brother. Nobody seems to care that she literally tried to steal my identity. Am I wrong for cutting them both off completely? Should I have just let her have the stupid party to avoid all this? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Update 1, posted 2 weeks later. I wanted to thank everyone who commented on my original post. Your advice to file a police report and get a lawyer immediately probably saved my financial life. I'm updating because things have escalated beyond what I imagined possible. After my first post, I took your advice and filed a police report for attempted identity theft and burglary. The officer said without proof of actual fraud, it would be hard to pursue charges, but having the report on file would help if anything happened. I also hired a lawyer and sent cease and desist letters to both Emily and Brandon. Brandon actually reached out through a mutual friend, begging to explain. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him in a public place with my lawyer present. The full story is even worse than I thought. Emily hadn't just randomly targeted Brandon. She'd been planning this for months. She showed him fake text messages between us where I allegedly admitted to stealing money from her trust fund. She created an entire narrative about how I'd manipulated our parents into leaving me the house, how I'd forced her to sign documents when she was grieving and couldn't think straight. She even told him I'd been physically abusive when she was a minor in my care. Brandon cried during our meeting. Actually broke down sobbing, saying he thought he was protecting her from an abusive situation. He'd apparently already given her $3,000 of his own money because she claimed I'd frozen her accounts out of spite. He showed me their text conversations, and Emily had been sending him messages for weeks building this elaborate fiction. She'd even sent photos of bruises, fake or from something else, claiming I'd hurt her. "I'm an idiot," he kept saying. "James, I've known you for 15 years. I should have known better. I should have talked to you." I felt a tiny bit of sympathy until he admitted the next part. He'd already given Emily copies of everything before I caught them. Not just photos, she'd convinced him to scan and email her high-resolution copies of every document in my filing cabinet. 4 days after that meeting, my credit monitoring went insane. Someone had applied for 6 credit cards in my name, submitted applications for 3 personal loans, and, this is the big one, attempted to take out a second mortgage on my house. Emily didn't just use my information carelessly. She'd studied it. The applications included details about my employment history, previous addresses, even my mother's maiden name. She'd also clearly researched which lenders had less stringent verification processes. 2 of the credit cards were actually approved before I could stop them, with $15,000 limits each. But the mortgage attempt is what saved me. The lender called to verify the application, suspicious because I just refinanced 8 months ago. When I told them it was fraud, they helped me trace the digital footprints. The applications came from IP addresses traced to both Emily's apartment and, horrifyingly, Tyler's family's business. That's when I learned Tyler was in on it too. His family owns several real estate development companies. Tyler had been using his knowledge of real estate financing to coach Emily on how to leverage my property. Their plan, according to emails the police found later, was to take out the second mortgage, use that money for their wedding and a house down payment, and assume I'd never pursue charges against family. I called the police immediately. This wasn't attempted theft anymore. This was full-blown identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy. The detective assigned to my case said it was one of the most brazen family fraud cases she'd seen. Emily was arrested at work. She's a receptionist at a high-end spa, and apparently she made quite a scene, screaming about how I was ruining her life and her engagement. Tyler was arrested at his family's country club, which his father found so humiliating that he's already disowned him. The investigation revealed even more. Emily had used my information to open utility accounts that she never paid, submitted my information for apartment applications in other cities, presumably to damage my credit, and even tried to file a tax return in my name to steal my refund. The total attempted fraud was close to $400,000 when you included the mortgage attempt. Brandon wasn't arrested, but he's cooperating fully with the police. He's turned over all his communications with Emily, and his testimony is crucial to proving the conspiracy. He's also paying for my credit monitoring and legal fees, though that doesn't come close to fixing what he helped destroy. My extended family is in chaos. My aunt, who was so quick to defend Emily, went silent when the arrests made the local news. My uncle called to apologize, saying he had no idea how far Emily had taken things. My cousins are divided. Some think I should have handled it within the family, while others are applauding me for standing up to her. The criminal case is moving forward. Emily and Tyler are both charged with identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy. They're out on bail, but with conditions that include no contact with me and surrendering their passports. Emily's lawyer reached out about a plea deal, but my attorney shut that down immediately. We're going for the maximum charges. Update 2, posted 6 weeks after the first update. This will likely be my final update on this situation. The criminal cases have concluded, and I'm finally able to move forward with my life. Emily pleaded guilty to multiple counts of identity theft, fraud over $10,000, and conspiracy to commit fraud. She was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison, with a minimum of 18 months before she's eligible for parole. The judge was particularly harsh because of the premeditated nature of her crimes and the manipulation involved in recruiting Brandon. During her sentencing, Emily gave a statement that showed zero remorse. She actually told the judge that I had forced her hand by being unreasonably selfish with family resources. She claimed the house should have been split between us and that she was just taking what was rightfully hers. The judge interrupted her to point out that fraud is not a legitimate way to resolve disputes and that her entitlement didn't excuse criminal behavior. Tyler got 2 years with a minimum of 12 months. His family's lawyers tried to argue he was manipulated by Emily, but the email evidence showed he was actively planning the fraud. His father apparently spent a fortune on legal fees but couldn't buy his way out of this one. The last I heard, Tyler's family had completely cut him off, and the engagement is obviously over. Brandon wasn't charged, thanks to his cooperation and the evidence that he was manipulated. However, his life has imploded in other ways. Word got around our friend group about what he did, and he's been essentially ostracized. He lost his job when his employer found out about his involvement. Even though he wasn't charged, they said it showed poor judgment incompatible with handling sensitive data. He's moved back to his hometown 3 states away to live with his parents and start over. He sent me one final letter that I actually read. He said he's in therapy to understand how he could have betrayed me so completely. He wrote, "I let loneliness and flattery override 15 years of friendship. I destroyed the most important relationship in my life for someone who was using me. I don't expect forgiveness, but I need you to know that I'll regret this for the rest of my life. I don't forgive him, but I don't hate him anymore either. I just nothing him, if that makes sense." The financial aftermath has been extensive but manageable. The fraudulent accounts were closed, and after months of paperwork and disputes, my credit has been mostly restored. I had to pay about $15,000 in legal fees, but Emily and Tyler were ordered to pay restitution. I'll probably never see that money, but at least it's on record. My house is fully secure now. I installed a comprehensive security system, cameras, and changed every lock and password. I've also put fraud alerts on everything possible and frozen my credit indefinitely. The paranoia is real. I check my credit report obsessively and panic every time I get unexpected mail. The family fallout continues. My aunt tried to visit Emily in prison and then had the audacity to ask me to put money in Emily's commissary account because she's suffering enough. I blocked her number. My uncle has been supportive, but family gatherings are essentially impossible now. The family is split between those who think I did the right thing and those who believe I should have found another way to handle it. I've been in therapy myself to process the betrayal. My therapist says I'm dealing with a form of PTSD from having my trust so fundamentally violated by 2 people I loved. The hardest part is accepting that the Emily I thought I knew, my little sister who I protected and cared for, either never existed or morphed into someone unrecognizable. I found out through the grapevine that Emily's prison job pays 23 cents an hour and that she's been assigned to kitchen duty. She apparently complained to our cousin that it's slave labor and that the food is inedible. The same cousin told me Emily still maintains she did nothing wrong and that I'm the one who destroyed the family. She's told other inmates that she's in prison because her brother set her up, which would be laughable if it weren't so pathetic. Some positive things have come from this. 1. I've strengthened friendships with people who supported me through this ordeal. My co-workers especially have been incredible, covering for me during court dates and checking in regularly. 2. I've learned to set better boundaries. I'm no longer the guy who automatically says yes to family requests or feels guilty for protecting my own interests. 3. I've started dating someone new, Sarah, 25F, who's been incredibly understanding about my trust issues. She jokes that I'll never have to worry about her stealing my identity because she can barely remember her own passwords. 4. I'm selling the house. Too many bad memories, and I constantly feel like I'm waiting for the next attack. I'm moving to a different city for a fresh start, keeping my new address private from extended family. The biggest lesson from all of this: when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Emily showed me she was entitled and manipulative, but I excused it as immaturity. Brandon showed me that his loneliness and desperation for connection could override his judgment, but I never thought it would extend to betraying me. To everyone who messaged me with support and advice, thank you. You helped me find the strength to pursue justice even when family pressured me to let it go. To anyone dealing with similar situations, document everything, don't let family be an excuse for criminal behavior, and remember that protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. Emily will be released in 18 months minimum. I won't be there. I won't be reachable. As far as I'm concerned, I don't have a sister anymore. The girl I raised and loved died the day she decided my identity was worth stealing for a party venue and a wedding she'll never have. Final update, 2 months after sentencing. I wasn't going to update again, but something happened that provides real closure to this saga, and I wanted to share it for anyone who might face similar situations. A month after moving to my new city, I received a call from a federal prosecutor who handled Emily's case. She was reaching out because Emily and Tyler were facing additional charges. It turns out their fraud went deeper than anyone initially realized. Remember how Tyler's family was in real estate? Well, investigators found evidence that Emily and Tyler had used my information and several other victims' identities to create false rental histories and references for a property development scheme. They were helping Tyler's friends and associates create fake tenant profiles to secure loans for investment properties. My identity was apparently particularly valuable because of my good credit and stable employment history. The prosecutor said they'd identified at least 12 other victims, mostly people Emily knew peripherally, former co-workers, distant relatives, even parents of kids she babysat for in high school. She'd been collecting personal information for years, storing photos of documents, memorizing social security numbers, building a database of identities to exploit. This new evidence meant Emily and Tyler faced additional federal charges under RICO statutes, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, because they were essentially running an organized fraud ring. The mandatory minimums for these charges would add at least 10 years to their sentences. Emily's lawyer contacted me directly, which he wasn't supposed to do. He was desperate. He said Emily would plead guilty to everything and provide full cooperation against Tyler and his associates if I would write a letter to the judge asking for leniency. He actually used the phrase, "she's your blood," as if that meant anything anymore. I declined. But I did something else. I wrote a victim impact statement for the new charges. In it, I detailed not just the financial crimes, but the psychological manipulation, the betrayal of using my best friend against me, the destruction of our family, and the complete lack of remorse she'd shown. I wrote about raising her after our parents died, sacrificing to make sure she had everything she needed, only to have her view me as nothing more than a resource to exploit. The prosecutor said it was one of the most powerful victim statements she'd read. Last week, Emily pleaded guilty to the additional charges. With the new counts, she's facing 15 to 20 years in federal prison. Tyler is facing 20 to 25 years because he was deemed the ringleader of the broader scheme. Several of Tyler's associates were also arrested, and the real estate fraud investigation has expanded to 3 states. During this latest sentencing, Emily finally broke down. Not with remorse, but with rage. She screamed at me in court, calling me a traitor, saying I destroyed her life over a stupid party. She had to be physically restrained when she tried to lunge at me. The judge added 6 months for contempt of court. The most surreal moment came when they led her away. She turned to look at me one last time, and for just a second, I saw my little sister, the one who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, who I taught to ride a bike, who hugged me at our parents' funeral and promised we'd always have each other. Then her face hardened again, and she mouthed, "I hate you," before disappearing into custody. Brandon reached out one last time through his lawyer. He wanted me to know he'd testified in the additional cases, helping prosecutors understand how Emily had manipulated him and likely others. His lawyer said Brandon wanted no leniency or consideration for this. He just wanted to help make things right. I appreciated that, but I still want nothing to do with him. My therapist helped me write a letter, not to send, just to process. In it, I wrote everything I wanted to say to the Emily I used to know. I thanked her for the good memories. I forgave the child she was for not becoming the adult I'd hoped she'd be. I said goodbye to the sister I'd lost long before she went to prison. Then I burned it in my new backyard, watching the smoke disappear into the night sky. I'm building a good life here. Sarah and I are getting serious. She met my new friend group last week, people who only know me as James, not as the guy whose sister tried to steal his identity. My new job is going well, and I'm even considering buying another house, though I'll never keep important documents at home again. The extended family has mostly gone quiet. I heard through one cousin who still talks to me that my aunt tried to visit Emily but was turned away because Emily had put her on the no-visit list. Apparently, Emily blames everyone: me, our aunt, Tyler, Brandon, the prosecutors, the judge, everyone except herself. I've started volunteering with an organization that helps identity theft victims navigate recovery. Turns out my story, as extreme as it is, helps others realize they're not overreacting when they pursue charges against family members who violate their trust. The organization's leader told me that family identity theft is actually the most common and least reported form of the crime. To anyone reading this who's dealing with family members who feel entitled to what's yours, who manipulate and guilt you, who commit crimes and expect forgiveness because of blood, you don't owe them anything. Not your money, not your property, not your forgiveness, and certainly not your identity. Family isn't a license to commit crimes. It's not a get-out-of-jail-free card. And keeping it in the family just enables escalation. Emily will spend her 20s and 30s in federal prison. She'll miss her own wedding, if anyone ever wants to marry her after this, her chance at a normal career, her opportunity to have kids, all the experiences that make up a life. She threw it all away because she couldn't accept the word no about a party venue. As for me, I'm free. Not just from Emily and Brandon, but from the obligation to put family above my own well-being. I'm building boundaries, relationships, and a life that no one can steal from me. This is my final update. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this journey. May you never need the advice you gave me, but if you do, remember, document everything, press charges, and don't let anyone, family or otherwise, make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. The house that started all this. I sold it last month. The new owners are a young couple planning to start a family. They're going to host their housewarming party there next week, the kind of normal, drama-free gathering the house deserves. I hope they make better memories there than I did.